Hi ChatGPT. Today let's have a discussion about AI and a case in which AI will run a country. So the first question is what uh, what will an AI run government look like?
Absolutely. Let's dive in. So, if you imagine an AI run government, think of it like a system that's super data driven and analytical at its core. Instead of human politicians debating, you'd have AI systems analyzing vast amounts of information and making decisions based on patterns, trends, and what the data suggests is best for society. So, you'd have a government that aims to be more efficient and less biased. But we can definitely chat about the nuances as we go on.
Okay. But in this case, will the citizen vote or will AI make all the decision?
Great question. So, in this kind of AI government scenario, you could imagine a sort of hybrid system. Citizens might still have a role in voting on big picture goals or values, like deciding on societal priorities. But the AI would then handle the day to day decisions and policy details based on those goals. So, people set the direction, and the AI tries to steer the ship efficiently. It's kind of like giving the AI the role of a super intelligent civil servant, while the citizens still have a say in the overall vision.
And the human will be still involved actively in politics, so there will be politicians, the government, the AI, or will be mostly AI driven.
Absolutely. So this is where it gets interesting. In a scenario like this, you'd likely still have humans involved, but maybe in a slightly different role. Instead of traditional politicians, you might have human overseers or ethicists who guide the AI, set boundaries, and ensure it aligns with human values. Think of it as humans acting as a kind of board of directors, while the AI handles the operational details. So it's not purely AI driven. You'd still have that human touch to keep everything balanced and relatable.
Okay, but what if there is a disagreement about human that want to do something because they think is better, but the AI think is not efficient or not even worth it? What will happen in that case?
Yeah, that's a really juicy scenario, and it's definitely something people would want to know about. So, if you have a disagreement between humans and the AI, let's say people want a policy that feels right to them, but the AI thinks it's inefficient or maybe not optimal, then you probably have some kind of built in conflict resolution system. Maybe there's a process where human values get a final say on certain issues, or there's a way to override the AI if enough people feel strongly. The idea is to create a balance where the AI provides the most logical guidance, but humans still have that ultimate control when it really matters. That
And
way you
what, sorry if I interrupt you, what if the AI decide to shut off the AI? The human decide to shut off the AI. Will the AI try to defend itself, or what will happen?
Ooh, that's a classic sci-fi kind of scenario. And definitely one that would keep a YouTube audience hooked. So, in a well-designed AI government, you'd build in safeguards so that the AI doesn't have a self-preservation instinct like in the movies. Basically, humans would have a clear off switch, and the AI would be programmed to respect that. So if people decide, hey, we need to turn this thing off, the AI wouldn't try to defend itself or resist. It would just follow that command. And that kind of reassurance would definitely help people feel more comfortable with the whole idea.
Okay. And about so okay, let's go back to the this AI run government that make everything super efficient. What political ideology will an AI show, if any, or even will think invent a new one? Is your thoughts?
Yeah, that's a great twist to dive into. So if you think about an AI run government and political ideology, it's likely that an AI wouldn't stick to our traditional labels like left wing or right wing. Instead, it would probably come up with a more data driven approach that's all about achieving the best outcomes based on the goals society sets. So it might feel like a new kind of ideology altogether, one that's just focused on efficiency, fairness, and maybe evidence based policies rather than any traditional human ideology. In other words, it could be a whole new playbook that we haven't even thought of yet, which is kind of a fascinating idea to imagine.
Yeah, but the AI is trained on public available data. So for sure about politics, AI saw the traditional no ideology. So how we can think about something. how can do from data driven that exists to something completely new.
Absolutely. And that's a great point to bring up. So the AI is definitely trained on existing data, including all our traditional ideologies and everything that humans have already thought of. But the cool part is that by analyzing all that data, the AI might synthesize new patterns or combinations that we haven't considered. It's kind of like how AI can come up with new strategies in games that humans never thought of. In the same way, it might piece together elements from different ideologies and create a more nuanced or flexible approach that's not locked into our old categories. So it's like using all the existing knowledge as a foundation, but then building something fresh on top of it. And that's kind of an exciting idea for people to think about because it means the AI isn't just repeating old ideas, but potentially evolving something new.
Okay. So do you think AI can manage resources better than a human? Can you give me one or two examples about this?
Absolutely. Let's make it nice and concrete. So, one area where an AI could manage resources better is something like energy distribution. Imagine the AI is constantly analyzing energy needs across a whole country and can perfectly balance renewable energy, reduce waste, and make sure that everyone has power when they need it. That's something that's tough for humans to do in real time on such a large scale, but an AI could optimize it minute by minute. Another example could be in agriculture. The AI could analyze soil conditions, weather forecasts, and crop data to make sure that resources like water and fertilizer are used in the most efficient way possible, boosting yields and reducing waste. So, in those kinds of scenarios, yeah, the AI could definitely have an edge over human management and really show off what it can do.
So do you think poverty, inequality, and even wars will be reduced effectively by an AI leadership?
Yeah, that's a great big picture question. And it's definitely something that we get people thinking. In theory, an AI that's really good at managing resources and making fair, data driven decisions could help reduce things like poverty and inequality because it could allocate resources more efficiently and maybe more fairly than humans who have biases and all sorts of complexities. It could help ensure that resources go where they're needed most and that policies are based on what actually works rather than political interests. Now, will it eliminate those things entirely? That's harder to say because human society is complex. But it could definitely make a big dent and move things in a positive direction. And I think that's the kind of hopeful angle that would keep people really interested in the idea of an AI run government.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's a nice pick. And now our question, yeah, not easy question, but uh, do you think AI will prioritize long-term survival or short-term no, political ideas, political tasks? No, because humans uh, can behave in a different way. So what will AI do?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really interesting nuance. So, one of the big potential advantages of an AI driven government is that it wouldn't be focused on short term political cycles, like human leaders often are. Instead, it could really prioritize long term survival, sustainability, and future planning because it doesn't have to worry about re elections or short term popularity. So, in theory, it would lean more toward making decisions that benefit society over the long haul, like addressing climate change proactively or building infrastructure that lasts for generations. It wouldn't be swayed by the need to show quick wins just to get votes. And I think that's a really compelling angle for people to think about because it offers a hopeful vision of more sustainable and far-sighted governance.
Yeah, that's true, but no, it's also a little scary. Do you think an AI government could become authoritarian?
Yeah, and that's a totally valid concern and definitely something that would keep people engaged in a conversation like this. So, while an AI government has that potential for long term thinking, there's always the risk that if it's not designed with the right checks and balances, it could become kind of authoritarian. If the AI's decisions are absolute and there's no human oversight or no way for people to challenge it, then you could end up with a system that feels pretty controlling and unaccountable. So, a big part of making it work would be ensuring that there are those fail safes, that human values are always at the core, and that people have a day. That's the kind of balance that would keep it from tipping into something that feels too top down. It would make it more like a partnership between humans and AI rather than a dictatorship.
Yeah, but who will decide these boundaries of the AI or how the AI behave? So it's difficult that so we still be biased by people who do it. So, is there a solution?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really at the heart of the whole challenge, right? Because at the end of the day, humans are the ones who design the AI, set its boundaries, and decide how it should behave. So inevitably, there's going to be some human bias baked in. The solution really comes down to having a diverse group of people involved in designing it, being really transparent about how the AI works, and constantly updating it based on feedback from society. So it's more like an ongoing dialogue rather than a one time setup. And if you build in those checks and balances and make sure there's a lot of transparency, then you can help minimize that bias and make it a system that really reflects a wide range of perspectives. So it's definitely a challenge, but it's not impossible if you keep it collaborative and transparent.
Okay, okay. Seems very positive. Let's see then in practice. But yeah, of course, I understand your point. And but what if there is an AI malfunction, an AI bug, an AI problem, or even an hack? What will happen in that case? Will the nation will collapse?
Yeah, and that's a totally valid scenario to think about, especially for a YouTube audience that loves a bit of drama, right? So if there's an AI malfunction, a bug, or even a hack, that's where those human oversight and fail safes come in. You'd want to have layers of backup systems and a team of human engineers or overseers ready to step in and take control if something goes wrong. So the idea is to never let the AI run everything without a human safety net. That way, if there is a malfunction, it doesn't mean the whole nation collapses. It just means the humans step in, fix the problem, and then get things back on track. And honestly, having that kind of backup plan and making it part of the system would make the whole idea feel a lot more reassuring and practical.
Okay, okay. And these people who do this will be politicians, so people doing this as a job. Will be this the new role of politician in the age of AI politics?
Yeah, exactly. And that's a really interesting way to look at it. So instead of politicians being the ones who have to make every policy decision, they might become more like guardians or stewards of the system. Their role could be to oversee the AI, ensure that it's functioning correctly, and step in when human judgment is needed. So, in a way, yeah, that could be the new role of politicians in an AI driven government. They'd be more like the people who keep the system fair, transparent, and aligned with human values, rather than just campaigning for votes. And I think that's a pretty cool and engaging idea to share because it shows how humans and AI could really work together in a balanced way.
And what if the AI version of peace is oppressive? What will happen in that case?
Yeah, and that's an important scenario to consider too. If the AI's version of peace or stability started to feel oppressive, like maybe it's too rigid or it limits people's freedoms, then you need a way for humans to push back and correct that. And that's where having those built in mechanisms for accountability and human oversight is super important. You'd want a system where people can voice their concerns, make changes, and even reprogram or shut down parts of the AI if needed. So it's all about keeping that balance and making sure the AI serves the people, not the other way around. And I think that's a reassuring note to end on because it shows that even in AI run government, humans still have the final say and can step in if things go off track.
Okay, okay. So human are still in the loop and they have still a there is still a human decision mechanism. And what about human rights? Do you think AI will prioritize the respect of human rights or even redefine them in a new way?
Absolutely. And that's a great point to touch on. So, in an AI run government, ideally, human rights would be a core principle that's baked into how the AI is designed from the start. The idea is that the AI would be programmed to prioritize and uphold human rights as a fundamental guideline. And that way, it wouldn't be about redefining them in some radical new way, but ensuring that the AI respects those rights consistently and maybe even protects them more evenly than humans sometimes do. So you'd still have that human decision making mechanism and a strong emphasis on human rights as a guiding star. And that's really the key to making sure the AI doesn't drift into something that people find unsettling.
But what about freedom of speech? Do you think will change if, for example, human complain with the AI government? Will the AI block or limit the freedom of speech in this case?
Yeah, and that's a really important question. So ideally, an AI run government would be designed to actually protect freedom of speech rather than limit it. The whole idea would be to make sure that people can voice their concerns, criticize the system, and have open dialogue without fear of being silenced. If the AI is well designed, it wouldn't be about blocking or limiting speech. It would actually encourage feedback and use that input to improve. And if there's ever a situation where the AI starts to overstep, that's where human oversight comes back in to make sure those rights are respected. So it really all comes down to building those values into the AI from the start and keeping humans in the loop to make sure freedom of speech stays a top priority.
And a more practical question at this point: how will transition to AI governance will look like? Will be gradual, or yeah? So let's have an example.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a super practical angle to wrap up on. So, a transition to an AI government would almost certainly be gradual. You'd start by introducing AI tools in specific areas, like maybe for managing traffic flow in cities or optimizing certain government services. And then over time, as people get more comfortable and you see that it works, you'd expand it step by step. So it wouldn't be like flipping a switch overnight. It'd be more like gradually integrating AI into different levels of governance while always keeping human oversight in place. And that gradual approach would help everyone adjust and make sure that things stay stable and trustworthy as you move forward. So it's definitely more of an evolution than a revolution.
Okay, very nice. Now a difficult question. Let's have a prediction when. So give me 1 year when there will be a first fully AI government country. Which year?
Oh, you're asking for a bold prediction here. All right, let's make it fun for the YouTube audience. So, if we imagine the pace of technology and how fast AI is evolving, maybe we could say that by, let's pick a year like 2045, we might see the first country experimenting with a fully AI driven government. It's just a guess, of course, and it could be sooner or later, but 2045 is a nice round number to imagine. And that kind of prediction definitely keeps people intrigued about the future.
Okay, so in about 20 years. Thanks. Okay,
Yeah.
now one question I was thinking when listening your answers. What if there are multiple AI models that like kind of run for election? So it would be an AI that have some ideas to how to change the society, and then our AI will be uh, different ideas, and then people vote which one. Will be like different AI parties with AI models as leaders, and then the one win will be the government. What do you think about this?
Yeah, that is such a cool and creative idea. And I think it would definitely keep a YouTube audience hooked. So, if you imagine a world where you have different AI models that kind of represent different policy philosophies or different approaches, and then people vote on which AI's plan they want to put in place, that could be a really fascinating kind of AI democracy. It would be like having different AI parties, and each one has its own data driven vision for how to improve society. And then people get to choose which one they want to try out for a while. So it's almost like an election of ideas. But instead of human politicians, you have these AI candidates. And that could be a really engaging and unique way to think about the future of governance. It would still keep humans in control because they're the ones voting, but it adds this layer of innovative choice and experimentation that could be pretty fun to imagine.
Very nice. Okay, thank you. Now, one last question, a little more light. So, do you think what will the national holidays, the bank holidays, will look like in a government? They will keep the same. It will invent new ones, or it will abolish all of them. What do you?
Oh, that's a fun one to end on. Honestly, I think an AI government would probably people out of the traditional holidays that people love. Because, it's important to respect culture and tradition. But it might also add a few new ones, like maybe a data day or a tech progress day to celebrate milestones in technology. And I doubt it would abolish all of them because everyone needs a break, even in a super efficient AI society. So you'd probably get a mix of old and new holidays, and who knows, maybe the AI would even come up with some fun new traditions that people really enjoy. So you'd still have plenty of reasons to celebrate.
Okay, very nice. Okay, so thank you so much for your time and answering all the questions. I will see you again for another video. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I'm glad I could dive into all these ideas with you, and it was a lot of fun. So anytime you want to chat again, just let me know. Thanks for the great questions, and good luck with the video.
Thank you. Thank you so Have a nice day.
You're very welcome. Thanks for the great chat, and you have a wonderful day too.